Yo, Vibe Tribe, what's up? We got episode 10, the season finale. My name is Zach Plotkin, your host, and with me today,
Mason Cohen.
couple hundred miles away.
So this is actually really interesting because Zach is super far away from me.
I'm in Lee, Massachusetts. I'm working at a summer camp, Camp Lennox. I've been here since I was 8 years old, and I'm a group leader. I'm having a blast, but I miss the Vibe Tribe.
He's in a log cabin. I'm here in Philly holding it down, and we're actually on the phone right now on our computers with headphones in, and we're each recording it on separate devices. And hopefully when it's finished, the two recordings will layer perfectly, and we'll have a beautiful VyBCAST for you guys today.
Yes. I'm very excited. This one's going to be special.
So the season finale, we're going to recap every episode. We're going to talk about who was the guest, what did we like about it, what didn't we like about it, what happened before and after, how did it go, a little behind the scenes action. And then we're going to talk about, the struggles recording the VyBCAST. I mean, Zach and I have never done a podcast before in our entire lives. So this was a completely new experience for us. And then we're going to do a little bit of what we got out of it. How can we improve, things like that. So, I mean, let's just jump into it. We'll go VyBCAST by VyBCAST, going from 1 to 9, this being the 10th. And the first one, that was just me and you, Zach, right?
Yeah, it feels so long ago, but also so short, like yesterday. That one was interesting.
It was. I mean, we both had never recorded or, had any experience recording a podcast before. And it was funny because we didn't really know what to say. And it was
we had a script, too. We had a script, and we did not know exactly what we were going to say, but we kind of had along lines, and I feel like it just did not go. It
wasn't that great.
We talked a lot about team.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but I feel like as we went on, it improved.
Yeah, it was.
That one was a lot worse than I thought, but I'm happy we just did it.
It was funny because we had to restart the recording 5 times, and you're right, it was half scripted and half not scripted. So we were trying to stick to the script, but we also didn't know what to say. It was and we kept messing up, and we're oh damn, we got to start again. That was a good one. That's a throwback.
And plus, there are a few other people in the room that were not on the recording.
Yes. It was Audit, and I think Nico was in the room. That was so funny.
Anka was there too.
Oh my god. Recording a podcast with 3 other people that aren't on it. It was kind of awkward.
Yeah, not the easiest thing. That was fun though.
The next one though, yeah, that was a lot of fun. The next one was Lindsay. Just you and Lindsay, right?
Yeah, it was just her and I. It was so spontaneous. It happened so fast. I mean, I was just sitting in one of the rooms in Biata, and Audit looked at me. He's like, "So what are you doing at 7:30?" And I was like, "Nothing." He goes, "Want to shoot a podcast?" I'm like, "Of course." Ended up being very interesting. I learned a lot from her. She's very, let's get this work done. She's a hard worker. It was cool speaking to her. I wish you were on that with us.
Yeah, dude. Lindsay's a great entrepreneurial woman. It amazes me how driven she is, Yeah, she just got a dog, a little puppy that she has in the office too. It's so much fun. And it peed on me, on my lap. It's pretty.
That's funny.
Yeah, we have a little.
What's the dog's name?
Its name is Cody, and we call it Cody Lee. Yeah, Cody. It's a little, super small, little fluffy dog. The next VyBCAST number 3, that was with Dara, and that was also pretty spontaneous. I remember we were supposed to have it with Evan, and I think Evan was, stuck in traffic. So Dara was there, and we were like, Dara, let's record a podcast. And we had zero preparation. We had, zero idea of really what we were doing. But it ended up turning out to be, very good. And I think it was really interesting because both you and I, we knew Dara, but we didn't really know her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we had a class with her in the beginning of the school year. And then I guess, I knew that she was pretty cool, but I never really went and, said something. And I'm glad we recorded this. It was a cool conversation. Learned a lot from her.
Yeah, it was cool to talk to someone that you really didn't know that well because like you have no starting point, so like everything you learn, everything you talk about is brand new, you know, and fresh.
I also feel like that podcast, that was like a kind of a little turning point in like recording. Like I felt like we were like, okay, we've done this before.
Yeah,
We know what we're doing.
I agree. And we did it like off the cuff too, and like that kind of gave us a little confidence boost when we were done. Number 4,
The
that was
next one was Evan.
this one with Evan. This was a good one.
This
was
one
a really
got
good one.
really deep, really fast.
Yes, it did. We talked about life, the meaning of life, what motivates and drives him, and the analogy he gave to us was like, you are your own like favorite movie character in your favorite movie, and every day you wake up and you have to make the best decision that your favorite character of your superhero would make in that movie, and like he must have said that story like many times, and it was extremely polished, and
Yeah, absolutely.
it was so good and like so inspiring. It was crazy to think that he he didn't plan for our podcast that much either. Like it was like very like last minute as well. And for him to just like tell us that analogy so smoothly and it was so flawless was amazing.
Like you could tell that his mindset is very sharp. He was also very open-minded. He knew what he wanted to say, and he had the words to say it.
Absolutely. And if Dara's podcast was a turning point, Evan's was even more of a turning point, I think.
Yeah, it just shifted us into a whole nother direction. That one took us to another level.
Yeah, definitely. We left that podcast. We were like, oh my god, we got goosebumps.
Dude, and
hyped.
and plus we talked about that a lot. Like we talked about his meaning of life. That's like 4 years in the close school. How that could enhance and your mindset changes a lot.
I think I've repeated that analogy many times actually.
Yeah, and
to like other people.
And plus, like hearing what inspires him, and like him knowing that he, making a difference in the world and people's lives, it was very, very cool, very interesting.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
It was also like it was interesting because I don't think I've had like a conversation with somebody, like that in such a public way, going on a recording. So it was cool.
It was a very cool setting, I guess, very different from like what I'm used to.
Yeah,
for sure.
Next one.
We had a VyBCAST with Trey, and this was a good one because I also barely knew Trey as well, and it was probably the most like super comfortable and relaxed podcast that we recorded.
Yeah, it was kind of like early in the morning.
It was early in the morning.
Well, like 11, not super. It was middle of the day.
And yeah, I remember he was just about to leave to go to Europe for like 2 weeks, like an hour after the recording ended. But it was like, we just talked about like what we were interested in. He talked about where he came from, California, what his interest in sports and how he's applying that to his business. So that was a super enjoyable one for me. Like very, very comfortable and relaxed.
Yeah, that one had me feeling pretty good. I agree. The setting, like the feeling of the setting was a good vibe. I'd rate the vibe a 5. It was a good vibe.
Definitely.
Yeah, and he had a lot of good things to say. He did not start out knowing that he did not start out as being an entrepreneurship student or a business major. He wasn't like an engineering major.
Yeah. It was interesting to hear a story.
Yeah, stories.
Next VyBCAST 6 was with Eugene.
This one.
This is a good one.
This one was good.
Yeah, I remember he has a really interesting story, almost like phases in his life where like in middle school and high school he was into Minecraft and he built these international Minecraft servers. And I really connected with that because I used to play Minecraft a lot. And actually it's just a classic game to me, like reminds me of my childhood. And then he got into like his YouTube career, and now he's building a really cool app called React. So it was interesting to see like how his story like evolved. And I think the cool thing about his podcast was that Eugene is someone that was used to recording, like being recorded and being like in front of a camera or a microphone, whereas like no one else was. So he like really had like a refined voice. You know what I mean, Zach?
Yeah.
Like you could tell he was used to it.
Yeah, like and plus he didn't he like you said, he's very good. He was good with the recording. He knew what he wanted to say, and he was able to articulate that so like everybody, could understand. Also, something cool about Eugene, I thought, was that he's a go-getter. What he wants to do, he'll go do it. He doesn't just think about it and ponder about it. He has a very developed mindset, and he's an entrepreneur. And he grinded his app out, which was pretty cool too. He long nights, long hours, very inspiring.
Yeah. That was definitely a cool one, a very enjoyable one as well. So then I remember we had one with Audit in LeBeau. This one was interesting. I think we actually recorded VyBCAST 8 with Audit like pretty early in the season, and didn't actually release it until the 8th episode. So this was one of the ones that we recorded when we were still like super like fresh into like recording podcasts. Do you remember this one, Zach?
Yeah, this one was a little awkward. I felt like it was cool. It was
Everyone was a little nervous.
It was weird. Yeah, like it wasn't as chill as Trey's. It was a little bit more, I guess, professional.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do I explain this?
It reminded me a lot of the one that me and you had. Like, we overplanned it, I think, and we tried to like script it and like push the conversation a little too hard. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's also because we work together and we see each other a lot, and so when the time comes where we got to be formal and like really record it, it didn't feel natural.
Yeah, I feel that.
But I did get a lot out of that podcast. I learned a lot from Audit, like I always do. So
every day. And then VyBCAST 9, the last one with a guest, Jose. That one was so good. And I remember the one thing about this one is we should have kept recording. Do you remember that? We had a beautiful conversation, And then we ended the podcast, and we were like, oh my God, that was amazing. And we didn't stop talking for another 20, 30 minutes. And I feel like the conversation only got better. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. We learned a lot about Jose that he did not tell us before. And so when things started to come out, we would just keep asking questions like, oh my God, that's so cool. And, there got to a point where like we all looked at each other, we're like, oh my God, we should have just kept on recording. Yeah, I've never met somebody quite like Jose would spend days up, like pure hard worker.
3 days at a time, no sleep. It's insane. And he said he would do it like in sprints, but it was absurd to hear like his work ethic and how determined and driven he was. Crazy. But like, I mean, his business is actually going pretty well now. Like Drexel's supporting him, Hershey. So like, he's definitely been moving in the right direction. So huge props to Jose. Love Jose. And his story was so inspiring.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I just wish we kept recording.
Yeah, me too.
So in VyBCAST 7, yeah, we had Dom as our guest. And Dom was a super interesting kid. I remember really liking him. We were very like, I wouldn't say super close, but we were definitely good friends when he came on. And Dom was a kid from the UK, super into fashion. And what I remember most about his is that in his hometown, like fashion was something that really wasn't that big. He lived in a small town, and when he started his YouTube channel, which is now very successful and his business is pretty successful as well, kids would like make fun of him. And he used that negativity to just push him in the right direction until like he got to the point where today kids will try to like ask him, like the same kids that would make fun of him are asking him to be on his videos now. That was awesome, right, Zach?
Yeah. He was also just like Eugene. good with like being in front of the camera or on like recording.
Yep.
Professional, also fun to talk to, and it seemed like he knew what he wanted to do. Yeah, and not only that, doing things that nobody else want to do, like just the little things, like going to a what's it called, a thrift store, buying a couple items and going to go sell them for uh, five times, 4 times return.
Yeah, and it was something that he enjoyed doing. I love it. Loved his. I really enjoyed that podcast. Like that was one of the special ones for me.
Plus, he flexed on us with his style. Great style.
Yeah, he was wearing some Skechers actually. All right, so like I said, the VyBCAST was the first time Zach or I has ever been in the position to record content, like either that was a video or like audio recording. So we had a lot of challenges, a lot of bumps along the road, a lot of things that we just had no clue what we were doing in the beginning. For example, like maintaining like a smooth conversation is probably the hardest part about having a good podcast. And that's something that we both really struggled with, right?
Yeah, and not scripting it to the point where you could tell that it's scripted, but also like being prepared and knowing what we're going to talk about. There's like a fine line of what you should and shouldn't do.
Yeah. Like you can't script it too much because then if you like mess up, then you feel like you have to restart, but you can't go into it like super blind. And then I remember one thing that we really something that was really challenging for us was trying to move the conversation forward because we would prepare questions and stuff, but not asking them like super like forcefully. Do you remember? Like we would always say stuff like, "Can you please talk about that?" But then that was not like super smooth. That's not a smooth conversation, and that's something that we struggled with.
Yeah, like forcing it and just being blatantly like, okay, so why did you do this? Instead of just trying to ease our way into like a conversation. Also, things that like we struggled with was finding a place to record, and then we figured it out.
Yep. Recording a podcast is actually like, it seems extremely simple. It seems like you just have a conversation and just record it. But it's a lot more than that. It's like, first of all, when you bring a microphone into the situation, it kind of changes the flow of a conversation. And then you bring prepared questions and you bring topics that the guest wants to speak about. And it kind of like complicates it to where it's hard to be as natural as possible, right?
Yeah, so, like the whole goal is to be supernatural, but everything about the conversation isn't.
Exactly.
So I guess like the more you do it, the more you learn. Because in our first one, and even now, like after season 2, we're going to look back at this and we're going to be like, wow, like we've grown this much more. So it's pretty cool like to see from then in the beginning of season 1 to now of, okay, we started recording in this room, didn't sound too good, then we moved to a different one and we learned as we went on.
Yeah, it was a really enjoyable process for me, and I'm so glad that we had the idea to start the VyBCAST as like a little venture within Vibe, because it gave us the opportunity to like meet and sit down and really talk to kids that are so interesting and have like such like diverse points of view and like diverse mindsets, and it gave me a lot of perspective, especially like with Evan and then you have someone like Eugene compared with like Dom and Ada and Jose, like all these like great minds that we got to sit down and really dive deep with.
Every single person gave me a new outlook on like entrepreneurship, on school, on life, on mindset, a lot of mindset. Mindset's very important. How you view certain situations. So
it's all about being positive and like driven, because every single person's capable to do anything. It's all about like, are you willing to like make the sacrifice and put in the effort to get there?
are you gonna be the one to wake up at 6:30 in the morning before an hour before the other people so you could do that much more work? Or that, like, are you willing to put the sacrifices in order to achieve your dreams?
Yeah, it's definitely that, like that. Yeah, my favorite. That was definitely the best part. Like being able to sit down with everyone. I think it was awesome that we can now say like we've recorded podcasts, Zach, and actually for season 2, the VyBCAST has grown like so much and it's become like pretty popular. We have like some like loyal listeners, I guess you would say, that we're gonna have sponsors on the second season, which is super exciting. That like we're getting recognition for this podcast. It's like growing to be a real thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm very excited to see like what we could do, because anything's possible. Very optimistic. Yeah, I'm chilling. I'm excited.
It's cool to like really reflect on all the episodes, and like we've actually completed a whole season of podcasts, and like it seems like it wasn't that long ago when we just had the idea.
Yeah. The idea was just an idea, and like I remember we were just discussing it, and it was just like, okay, VyBCAST. And then we were like talking about it. We made a couple of Google Docs on it. And then one day we're like, okay, we're coming in to record. And I'm like, oh, this is getting real. Like this is happening. Like like we're doing this, and that was a cool moment.
I just wanted to thank everyone who listened to the podcast, the VyBCAST. I want to thank everyone, all of the guests we had on the VyBCAST. And I want to thank Zach for being an amazing host to the VyBCAST. It was an amazing experience, and I cannot wait for season 2.
Yes, thank you, Mason. Thank you for everybody that's helped make this possible. Audit, Tom, Nico, everybody in the Vibe Tribe.
Biggest shout out goes to Grant.
Grant gets the biggest
Grant Cooper.
one. Grant's our editor.
If you guys have heard, he made the little beat in the beginning of the VyBCAST. He's a legend. So shout out to Grant.
Grant is, to put it simply, to put it in 2 words, Grant is the man. The amount of work that he's put into this VyBCAST, it's actually incredible.
It's all behind the scenes too, which is the coolest part.
All behind the scenes.
I think that's a great way to end season 1, the season 1 finale, with a shout out to GC Money. And I think with that, VyBCAST out. I'm just gonna say it like again, like all right, so VyBCAST 7, we were with them. All right, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2,
1,
3,
3,
3, 2, 1.